following is a quote from 50 Cent. "I was born alone and I will die alone. I've got to do what's right for me and not live my life the way anybody else wants it." You came into this life with the only real possessions that ever matter: your body, the time that you have to live, your energy, the thoughts and ideas unique to you, and your autonomy. But over the years, you tend to give all of this away. You spend years working for others. They own you during that period. You get needlessly caught up in people's games and battles, wasting energy and time that you will never get back. You come to respect your own ideas less and less, listening to experts, conforming to conventional opinions. Without realizing it, you squander your independence, everything that makes you a creative individual. Before it is too late, you must reassess your entire concept of ownership. It is not about possessing things or money or titles. You can have all of that in abundance, but if you are someone who still looks to others for help and guidance, if you depend on your money or resources, then you will eventually lose what you have when people let you down, adversity strikes, or you reach for some foolish scheme out of impatience. True ownership can come only from within. It comes from a disdain for anything or anybody that impinges upon your mobility, from a confidence in your own decisions, and from the use of your time in constant pursuit of education and improvement. Only from this inner position of strength and self-reliance will you be able to truly work for yourself and never turn back. If situations arise in which you must take in partners or fit within another organization, you are mentally preparing yourself for the moment when you will move beyond these momentary entanglements. If you do not own yourself first, you will continually be at the mercy of people and circumstance, looking outward instead of relying on yourself and your wits. Understand, we are living through an entrepreneurial revolution, comparable to the one that swept through 50's neighborhood in the 1980s, but on a global scale. The old power centers are breaking up. Individuals everywhere want more control over their destiny and have much less respect for an authority that is not based on merit, but on mere power. We have all naturally come to question why someone should rule over us, why our source of information should depend on the mainstream media, and on and on. We do not accept what we accepted in the past. Where we are naturally headed with all of this is the right and capacity to run our own enterprise, in whatever shape or form, to experience that freedom. We are all corner hustlers in a new economic environment, and to thrive in it, we must cultivate the kind of self-reliance that helped push 50 past all of the dangerous dependencies that threatened him along the way. For 50, it was very clear. He was alone in the house he grew up in and on the streets. He lacked the usual supports, and so he was forced to become self-sufficient. The consequences of being dependent on people were so much more severe in his case. It would mean constant disappointment and urgent needs that went unmet. It is harder for us to realize that we are essentially alone in this world and in need of the skills that 50 had to develop for himself on the streets. We have layers of support that seem to prop us up, but these supports are illusions in the end. Everyone in the world is governed by self-interest. People naturally think first of themselves and their agendas. An occasional affectionate or helpful gesture from people you know tends to cloud this reality and make you expect more of this support until you are disappointed again and again. You are more alone than you imagine. This should not be a source of fear, but of freedom. When you prove to yourself that you can get things on your own, then you experience a sense of liberation. You are no longer waiting for people to do this or that for you, a frustrating and infuriating experience. You have confidence that you can manage any adverse situation on your own. Look at a man like Rubin Hurricane Carter, a successful middleweight boxer who found himself arrested in 1966 at the height of his career and charged with a triple murder. The following year, he was convicted and sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. Through it all, Carter vehemently maintained his innocence, and in 1986, he was finally exonerated of the crimes and set free. But for those 19 years, he had to endure one of the most brutal environments known to man, one designed to break down every last vestige of autonomy. Carter knew he would be freed at some point, but on the day of his release, would he walk the streets with a spirit crushed by years in prison? Would he be the kind of former prisoner who keeps coming back into the system because he can no longer do anything for himself? He decided that he would defeat the system. He would use the years in prison to develop his self-reliance so that when he was freed, it would mean something. For this purpose, he devised the following strategy. He would act like a free man while surrounded by walls. He would not wear their uniform or carry an ID badge. He was an individual, not a number. He would not eat with the other prisoners, do the assigned tasks, or go to his parole hearings. He was placed in solitary confinement for these transgressions, but he was not afraid of the punishments, nor of being alone. He was afraid only of losing his dignity and sense of ownership. As part of this strategy, he refused to have the usual entertainments in his cell: television, radio, pornographic magazines. He knew he would grow dependent on these weak pleasures, and this would give the wardens something to take away from him. Also, such diversions were merely attempts to kill time. Instead, he became a voracious reader of books that would help toughen his mind. He wrote an autobiography that gained sympathy for his cause. He taught himself law, determined to get his conviction overturned by himself. He tutored other prisoners in the ideas that he had learned through his reading. In this way, he reclaimed the dead time of prison for his own purposes. When he was eventually freed, he refused to take civil action against the state. That would acknowledge he had been in prison and needed compensation. He needed nothing. He was now a free man with the essential skills to get power in the world. After prison, he became a successful advocate for prisoners' rights and was awarded several honorary law degrees. Think of it this way. Dependency is a habit that is so easy to acquire. We live in a culture that offers you all kinds of crutches: experts to turn to, drugs to cure any psychological unease, mild pleasures to help pass or kill time, jobs to keep you just above water. It is hard to resist. But once you give in, it is like a prison you enter that you cannot ever leave. You continually look outward for help, and this severely limits your options and maneuverability. When the time comes, as it inevitably does, when you must make an important decision, you have nothing inside of yourself to depend on. Before it is too late, you must move in the opposite direction. You cannot get this requisite inner strength from books, or a guru, or pills of any kind. It can only come from you. It is a kind of exercise you must practice on a daily basis, weaning yourself from dependencies, listening less to others' voices and more to your own, cultivating new skills. As happened with Carter and with 50, you will find that self-reliance becomes the habit, and that anything that smacks of depending on others will horrify you. And that anything that smacks of depending on others will horrify you.